All right, all right. Welcome again to another episode. So You Think You're Fine, peeps. We have a great one for you. As usual, your host, Artemis.
Hey guys.
And Bethany. And again, joining us, which we're so excited about, we have Ryan Wagner to continue on.
Yeah. How we doing?
We doing? You couldn't get away from us, huh?
I can't. I tried, but it's just went the opposite way. So I'm just embracing it now. I'm happy to be here. Very excited.
It's difficult. It's difficult to get away from us, but
indeed, for better for worse.
You know what? You're kind of stuck with us now.
I was gonna say, I think the amount of reels we send each other, Emma, is enough that I think we're probably bonded for quite a while. So
I agree.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
the trauma, the reel sharing that you guys have together is amazing.
Honestly, it is a little trauma bonding. So
yeah.
The memes reflect that, just so we're clear.
Well, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, to pick off last, Ryan, you kind of gave us a nice warm intro about you and your family values. We did touch base a little bit on gun control, how you handle that, as well as you mentioned your kids were in homeschool. So kind of circle back, we want to touch base a little bit more on the family aspect. And Miss, to your point, the question that we were going to start with.
Yeah. There was a couple of things that we wanted to piggyback on what we talked last time, and we left off where we were talking about family and how important it was for your kids to be homeschooled, but we wanted to kind of like continue that conversation and then, get back into the guns that we're talking about with family, and then also dabble into religion. I know that we started chatting a little bit about that too, but with that said, we wanted to ask you a question as far as like technology. Obviously, everything with technology has been wild with, ChatGPT, AI, everything that's going on. How do you think that technology is impacting the family dynamics right now?
Ooh, man, that's a big one. We're gonna start into it right away.
Heavy hitters only.
I think we may have mentioned it last time, and if not, I'll say it again. But I think technology is both the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to people, in the form of phones, social media, internet, things of that nature, right? And it's incredible because it keeps people closer, keeps up with friends. I get to see my friends group. For instance, the guys that were in my wedding, right? Some of my best friends growing up, and still my best friends to this day. Not a single one of us lives close to each other. Yeah. And, as guys especially, we're not always the best at taking pictures and keeping up with each other and sending pictures of the family and stuff. So, social media has been a great way to keep up with everybody's families as they're, out across the U.S. So I think there's really good things to it. And just the fact that I can look something up on my phone and get an answer if I don't know the answer to something, that's incredible. But at the same time, it's the teenage years, the social media for kids, and the things that kind of the taking away of their childhood, so to speak, that none of us had to deal with.
Yeah.
There was MySpace got big, I think, when I was in
MySpace.
College.
Don't even start with us, okay?
I think
you can't show our age. Bethany doesn't even know what MySpace was.
All I know is that
Bethany,
my cousins. How old am I?
Yes.
I'm 24.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So she doesn't even know.
Yeah. Hey, I told you.
I told you she doesn't know what MySpace is.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But I mean, picking your top 8, like it was wild.
Top 5. Remember the top 5?
I don't remember the top 5. I just remember the top 8.
Oh, top 8. Okay. I thought it was top 5, but top 8 it is.
2 rows of 4. I remember that. And
it's your favorite people.
Yeah.
Like, even Facebook in the beginning, like, everyone's first friend was Tom, the Facebook guy,
Yes.
It was like, or no, that was MySpace, I'm sorry. But it was like, it just, you took a billion pictures on your digital camera, or a lot of people did, and then, you uploaded to some album that had 300 pictures of, like, last night's party, and it's like, holy cow.
You wanna know something that's funny? I found my digital camera.
No way.
I found it. I have it at home. So I went on Amazon and I ordered the charger.
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe I need to charge like the battery or whatever it may be. Like I need to charge it so I can move them into my laptop. It turned on for like a hot second, and then the screen just went blank, and I was like, God, I think I need to buy a new battery, but I'm willing because I really want my pictures. And who the heck knows what's in it?
There's probably
I'm
some
so
gems in
shocked. I will be so
mean,
shocked.
It's a time capsule at this point, which is
Literally.
incredible.
Yeah.
You know, I love to think that I'm still super young, and that college was like 5 years ago, which it wasn't by any means. But I was going through Facebook, and it popped up the other day. You have memories with so and so, and I was like, no,
Wow.
I don't. Like, what are you talking about?
Who is
I
this
talked to that person in 15 years.
Yeah.
And then just going through those pictures, and then I went down the rabbit hole. Then I was showing Sarah pictures. I was like, you never even knew this version of me. Like, this was pre you. And of course she's like, oh my gosh, send me those pictures. So I think there's very, very good things to it for sure. But it's, not to get to the doom and gloom side, but as we know, it's so highly addictive.
Yeah.
And I'm just as bad with it as anybody else, or maybe not anybody else, but if I'm bored, I'll sit there and doom scroll for no reason whatsoever. But for kids, especially in that kind of that single focus, kind of the TikTok brain, where they can't remain focused for more than 10, 20 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I'm hearing, and I'm not experiencing it because my kids don't have access to any of that. So what I'm seeing is it's rough. Teachers are talking that they can't hold attention. You've got these kids entering the workforce that just graduated high school a year or two ago, and their bosses don't even know how to interact with them half the time. And I've dealt with a little bit of that over the years, and it's just different enough from anything else we had growing up. And MSU and I, we're that generation that had it without.
Yes.
And then we kind of learned with it as it all learned.
Yeah.
And I think that gave us a really, really good perspective. I mean, my kids still think I watch black and white TV. I'm like, no, I'm not that old.
They're like, Dad, did you have a TV growing up? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh my gosh, you had TV? I'm like, yeah, but I didn't have Google until I was 15.
We're older than Google, Ryan.
Yeah.
Damn.
We're quite a bit older.
Don't even.
Wait,
Did you just damn us?
I know, I'm older than Google too.
I don't know.
You said that, and I was like, dang, that resonated with me. I was like, I am older than Google too. Like, it just made me feel old.
Just so bad.
Bethany's like, I am 2 years older.
Ryan's like, shut up over there. No. But I mean, to your point, Ryan, I have a question. So with how we're talking about social media, how it is like a benefit, but it can also be a harmful thing. I know you mentioned the kids don't have that, which makes sense. But what about you and your wife? How does that have, if it does, any effect to your relationship? Do you see yourself kind of like viewing these lenses and kind of like reflecting on your relationship, and it's hindering it or benefiting it? What's your perspective on that?
So, I am not the most sharing person in the world. Both because, one, I just personally don't care to share my life necessarily with other people. I feel like if people know me, they know my life, right?
Yeah.
Or if they're in my life enough to know about me, they probably know enough details already.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the person that has Instagram or Facebook just for that random, I want some inspiration on a truck build, or something like that. Like I use it more to just kind of scroll and stalk and screenshot ideas and be like, oh, I like that. That's cool, Whereas Sarah, was the one that would post pictures of all of us and with the family, and she was the one that kind of shared that around to all of our friends and family at a much better rate. She was a million times better at it than I was.
Yeah.
But as of January, she's actually been off completely
Wow.
from social media.
Okay.
So whereas I had to pick it back up for work.
Makes sense.
He's been doing much better.
Yeah. I have. You've been posting. Props. I've been seeing that.
I told her, I was like, I hate this. I was like, I absolutely hate this, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm posting like a typical boomer. I'm like, it's terrible, but it's getting there. So, again, benefit of it, but there's been many times in our relationship where we've stopped and looked at each other and been like, okay, we're both putting the phone down right now. And it's going away for the next 2 hours, and it's just going to be us together for 2 hours. Or, hey, our kids are talking to us, and yes, we're giving them our attention, but that phone's still in this hand. Put the dang phone down.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get involved in that because just like you two, and especially in the mortgage world, your phone needs to be with you. People need access to you as much as it's not ideal. So it's very easy to just tell your kid, hey, daddy has this because it's work.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, but they'll call us out. They'll be like, why are you and mom on the phone all the time?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, are we lying to ourselves when we're saying that it is work and that's why we need it on us, or are we doing the same and we're doom scrolling just like a 16-year-old is in study hall, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's something that I'm very conflicted on.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going anywhere, but at least for my children, and at least until they can understand it and kind of adapt to the world around them that isn't just all technology.
Yeah.
For them, especially, it's definitely not something they have access to.
Would you when do you think that they're going to have access to phones? Like, are you guys planning on giving them phones so they can start, having their own phone if they're in school, or if you guys decide to ever, take them to like real public school or anything at all?
So they have these. Charleston and Rhodes both have these watches called Gap watches.
Oh, I've heard about
And
those. Yeah.
they can text us, they can call us, but we as the parent have to program in phone numbers that they're allowed to speak to or can speak to them.
Yeah.
So they can't get any unwanted calls, they can't get spam calls, their buddy can't just call them out of the blue. So we have plugged in, like family members and like my dad and, Sarah's mom and stuff like that. And we use that for more of like, okay, Charleston, you're going to be at dance for 3 hours today. Take your watch with you,
Mhm.
and that type of thing. And then a little bit with some friends in Charleston would text each other back and forth. But because it's only a texting calling medium,
Yeah.
half the time we have to remind them, hey, you need to charge that because you might need to wear it tomorrow if something comes up,
Yeah.
Okay.
type of thing. So it's not something where they're just like, oh my gosh, I've got to have my Gap watch on me, and it's more of just oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. I can call mom that if I need to.
Got it.
Right, and it's kind of an afterthought for them. So that's where we're at now. One of the quotes that I have no clue who it's from. It's probably not even true because it's been on the internet, so it's probably not even a real quote. But
Fake news.
it's probably 60% correct, right?
Yeah.
But it's a quote that basically says, when you want your kid's childhood to end, give them a smartphone.
Wow.
And
I believe
that
that.
one
Yeah.
hit me super hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's true. Social media, just access to the internet, like, it can be a really great thing. But I mean, as a young adult, we've all been there.
Oh, for sure.
You're just going through it. You're trying to fit in. Like, just having overwhelming access to so much knowledge can hinder your child. And
You never know what they're gonna go searching out there too. Like, it's
Exactly.
just
and you
very
can't,
difficult and weird.
you can't protect them 100% all the time,
Yeah.
but you need to censor what they are taking in because that really
Agreed.
has a big effect. And to the point that you mentioned, Ryan, with those watches, it's a nice balance because you get to program it. You you control what they have access to, and it's not like your daughter is just scrolling on social media or can be sent anything inappropriate from somebody, which is really great because you do want to have that luxury of like, okay, if I need to call my daughter, I can call her. But you're not also scared of, okay, what is she getting into that she's not ready
Yeah.
for,
Now this brings us to like, if they were to get like a phone like later on in life, like, are you going to be okay with them having like Snapchat,
Oh, Snapchat.
Instagram? Like,
Mm.
how's it gonna? Snapchat is like
Yeah.
like
That's a
we
red
know-
flag.
That's a red flag in adults right now. Like,
Yeah.
if a
That's a
30
red flag,
if a
yeah.
30-year-old man has a Snapchat, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Ryan,
it. Bottom
do you have
line.
Yes.
Snapchat? Please
100%.
tell me no.
Like, no. Like,
100%.
why do you have Snapchat? Unless you're keeping it for like the little filters for your kids or whatever it may be, like things like that. But like, what are you doing with a Snapchat that you have to have on your phone as an adult man or like an adult female too? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's such a sketch thing. I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna take it a step further. I'm gonna say if you're an adult at all, you just don't need it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll watch my little sister-in-law. When she was in high school and even now, and she doesn't use it really anymore. But it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense to me. Maybe that's just because I'm getting old. But it'll be like they'll snap a picture of the ceiling with a response, and it's like you can do that with a text. It doesn't need a picture of like the corner of your room to go with it.
I mean,
Right? Like,
we are guilty of it. Like, I used to have it, and I used to go on it religiously.
Yeah.
Like, it's been like 3 or 4 years that I don't have it now. But like, that's where I did. Like, I have so many memories from it. Like, my travel was, through that. Like, there was like the before Instagram posts became popular.
It
So I
was
feel like
trending. It was what was trending.
correct. So I feel like it was a little bit different from us
yeah.
than it is now, because now you can do it on Instagram and more people are towards that versus like the stories. But like it was cool when we were cool.
When we were cool.
Oh, sorry.
I'm still
There's not
cool.
one.
Hold on. I'm cool too, I guess. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. But like it was really cool at the time. Now it's just gotten like a creepy vibe to it. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I don't know. People have
No,
changed.
I think Sarah and I were talking about it the other day. The same thing. Like if you're an adult male and you have Snapchat, like why? What is your purpose here? Like that is a dude for sure. Is I think a complete red flag. It's just weird.
Yeah.
You know, even like you said, as an adult female, like what's your point as a grown woman having it? Like you can do everything without it with your phone. Like if you want to just send pictures with a caption every time, you can do it in your text message. It's just easy.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not cool anymore. Maybe I just need to come to grips with that. But
See, there you
that
go.
to me, you know, I don't see the purpose of.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're a kid, you know, everything's cooler when you're younger, right?
Yeah.
I had to get a rental car, for instance, right? Because of my truck with the deer. My kids were over the moon. They were like, "Can we go to the ride in the rental car?" I'm like, "It's a little sedan. Like, there's nothing cool about it. But everything's cool, I think, when you're younger.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's some mystique to it that way. But to your point, as a father, but whether I had girls or not, obviously I do. I have two of them. But
Mhm.
you know, whether I have girls or boys, it's what is the purpose of a photo sharing platform where the photo disappears?
Yeah. And the
You know,
conversation
you know the point behind it. You know what it's about.
Right? I know exactly what the point is behind it.
Somebody
So,
did
my-
ask
like,
me,
why
"Oh,
do
do you
you
have Snapchat?" And I was like,
oh, hell.
"Oh, absolutely not. We're
Go ahead
done.
and remove my contact in your
Please don't ever text me again."
Well, and just okay, I'm gonna get real boomer on everybody now, but just the whole like you introduce yourself to someone and you're like, "Hey, what's your Snap?" It's like,
Oh,
how about a phone number?
yeah.
Like, crazy, you know? We just ask for snaps right away. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a bigger epidemic of just the.
I think it's a
culture in
cheating
general.
app. Personally, I think it's a cheating app.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's designed to give the most efficiency towards that route, towards that purpose.
Yeah, but also right now there's other people that you can add, random people. So it's like a dating weird app. Like before we never did that. Like if a rando added me, I'd be like, no, like that's weird. Only my friends on Snapchat. But now you can become public where everybody watches you and you know all that stuff. It's so strange to me. Again, I don't have it. I haven't had it for like 3 years, I think. But I kind of do want to go into it. I don't even know my password and just download all my memories because there were so many
Yeah.
like in there, and then just delete it again.
That I think brings up a good point because we were asking Sarah's little sister, who's 20.
Yeah.
We were like, you know, why do you still have it? Because she's in a good relationship and stuff, and she's like, honestly, she's like, there's so many good memories from high school in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's in the same route. She's like, I'm trying to figure out a way to download it
Yeah.
and
And it's
you know,
hard.
to do different things like that. And so I think that's one of those things where, you know, 10 years ago, would I have cared about a picture on Facebook from a night out with my friends? No, because it's just like any other night out. But now, 10 years later or 15 years later, it is cool to look back and see
Yeah.
that stuff. So, again, I think there's still other ways that you can have those same memories and still have the same impact with your friends and whatnot, and just sharing pictures. But again, at this day and age, unfortunately, it's an app that, like you said, to me doesn't have a point unless you're trying to do things that you're trying to hide.
I'm telling you, Ryan, I'm bringing back the Kodak little camera. It's gonna happen. I'm
Hey.
about to start snapping things
It's
with
so
that
fun,
one.
dude.
Hey, you want your pictures? You're gonna get them in 48 hours. When I upload them on my computer, it's not gonna come from the phone, okay?
That's great.
I
Gonna make
remember
it cool
getting my
again.
first, film camera and, taking pictures throughout vacation as like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and then, you gotta wait 5 days for them to get developed at Walmart, and then you realize half the pictures were terrible. Like, it was a grind that these kids don't know unless they just
I
don't
like the
know.
Polaroids. That was my favorite.
Oh,
Take
those are
one, you
cool.
shake it. You gotta wait
Yep.
for it to develop. Those are so cool. I want to get one.
You should do
All
it.
3 of our kids have one.
Yeah,
I love it.
They were Christmas presents. They love them. They think
They're so cool.
There's also too
Yeah.
this really cool like Polaroid camera, basically where it gives you the same like vibe, filter, all that as if it was a Polaroid, but it has like a quantity on it. So let's say like 20. You could actually download it straight to your computer after, and it has like that
Nice.
vintage look, the feel, all of
I
it, which
love
is
that.
really cool. Just so you're not worried
Yes.
like, oh, I don't have film, or like it's like you just literally plug it in,
We gotta buy it.
boom, you're good.
I think we go home and we buy it today.
Literally down.
That's gonna be
a
our
dual
thing.
order.
I
You
was
too,
just
Ryan.
text Sarah because she bought one.
She did?
A while back, and I was like, I made fun of her. I was like, what in the world is this for?
Wait,
I
a
was like, why
Polaroid or
did you
that
spend
one?
money on this?
The
And
one that
she's
you
like,
have.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So apparently, I'm just not just don't understand the fun side of it. But
Yeah.
yes, we do have one.
Yes.
We haven't looked at any of the pictures on it, so maybe the pictures are terrible. Maybe they're great. I don't know.
Yeah, give
But we do
feedback when you get
Yeah,
when you
tell us.
upload them. Let us know. But I've only heard good
Okay.
things about it, so I'm interested. And
No, Sarah's ecstatic. She won't let me bring her vibe down with it. So
yeah,
I'm
good.
probably just
I
gonna
love
go
that.
in
She's
on
a
it.
strong woman. She's
She-
like, I don't care
She's
about
gonna bring the.
the.
Listen, when we have our 3rd episode, she's gonna come in with pictures. Like she's
Yes.
gonna be showing us the pictures on it. You're just
Yes,
gonna.
absolutely.
upload
She's
them,
gonna-
that's
and then
fine.
you guys are gonna go out and buy one, and you guys are gonna love
I'm
it.
gonna be
So-
influenced. I need Sarah's influence code.
We do.
It's like Sarah 3 or something. No, I'm kidding. But
That's
yeah, I mean, to that point though, like we were saying, just yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that you and your wife Sarah, like you guys are just taking more of a wiser perspective when it comes to limiting the amount of social media and access to the internet that you guys are allowing the kids to have, because it is crucial. Like your kids are kids.
Yeah.
And to the quote that you said, I mean, literally, once you give them a smartphone, they can just get into anything. And at first, it'll be like. What's the word? I'm blanking right now, but it won't be at a pure it'll be innocent what they're looking into, but then it just
Mhm.
snowballs, and then kids at school or just kids in their environment, whether it's a neighborhood
Yeah.
kid or it's a kid from a public school, they're just at a different level than your kids,
Yeah.
and they'll
They will
start
feel
talking
kind of
about-
left out on things too.
Yeah, and they want to fit in just like we all did.
Yeah,
Like
we did.
you're trying to find your way, you're trying to find your people, you're trying to just fit in.
We had the Nokia. We got to play Snake on the Nokia.
Yeah, the GameCube. Invite
They
your
should bring
friends
the Nokia
over.
back. That
Oh,
was fantastic.
That brick was the best thing ever. You can throw it against the wall and it would not break.
No, that thing was unbreakable. I don't know how.
Unbreakable.
They did it, but they need to take notes from that because you couldn't. I never knew someone to burn one. Ever.
Yeah.
Oh, you could throw it against the wall and it would still
Yeah.
be
You could run it
one piece.
over.
You could run it.
Literally, it was unbreakable.
Yeah. How would you know? How did you even know the
Okay,
Nokia?
hold
What
on,
were
give me
you?
a
Hold on a second. Were you like 2 with the Nokia playing Snake?
Yeah. Yeah, I had older. I was the youngest out of my 16 cousins. They were like 18 and I was 10. They were 23. So like.
Nokia came out when you were 10.
No, well.
We need to kick
Yeah.
Beth out of this podcast.
No. What I'm saying though is like we would have family gatherings and they'd all be hanging out doing their thing, and I would
Playing
just
Snake?
yeah, Snake. I don't know, just doing all kinds of stuff that they were doing, and I was just
Snake.
there like a young kid trying to fit in.
That was the only game that was on the Nokia. It was a Snake, okay.
What's that jelly one? The jelly slide.
The jelly slide.
Yeah,
The one that would flip?
Yeah, they like. They
Oh
were
yeah.
on that.
The
There was a
kick.
game
What was
on
it
that.
called? Kick.
I don't remember that one at all.
There was a sidekick. The sidekick.
Yes.
With the flip screen.
Yeah.
And the little like jewel you'd have on the side, like you could add that attachment.
I had it in my Nokia
Oh
too.
goodness
So
sakes.
great.
I love that. Trendy. Very trendy.
Then the Motorola came out, the flat Motorola.
Okay.
The Motorola was just like an iPhone, which was great. Like I had like a flat screen thingy. But like remember, like back in the day, you could only like do 36 text messages and
Yeah.
the whole month. And you went over, you
Yeah.
got effed up by your parents.
That's right,
You
girl.
did
They're
not
like-
make calls until at all. You
10
had
o'clock
to
at night?
No minutes. Like free nights and weekends were the best thing that ever happened.
Dude, that is crazy
Oh.
to be like, I only have 4 minutes. Like, I need to let you go. Like, call me after time, girl. Like, oh.
Yeah, we cannot make this. Like that's it. Like I can't text you anymore. I went over my text messages. Dear God.
And then recording songs for your voicemail
Oh.
or for your ringback.
Yeah.
Oh.
Recorded off the radio and it sounded terrible and oh my gosh, but we all thought we were so cool. Yeah.
Nelly Furtado. That
It
was,
was
my
like, you need to call Ryan's phone. His voicemail is so cool.
Yeah.
It's Nickelback or
And-
something. That Blink 182.
I can actually see Ryan with Blink 182.
I love that.
No, it likely would have been more Nickelback or Creed instead of Blink.
Well,
My dad was on.
You're
I was
spot on.
on
That's why you laughed.
Yeah.
He was just
And
like,
now I
yeah.
think my phone's been on anything other than silent for probably 15 years. So
You guys just brought it back to me. I remember one of them was the Nelly Furtado song.
Oh, I
And
love
then
that.
the other one was, remember the songs You're Beautiful, but what was it? James Blunt, I think his name was? The one that says, You're Beautiful.
I know the song, but
Yeah. that was my ringtone.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought it was James Blunt.
I think you're right. I'm really bad with artists' names.
I thought it was James Blunt. But either way, those were my 3 ringtones, and then it went silent forever.
I could literally just see you just chilling, then your phone goes off, and that's the time you're like, hello?
I'm like, I had
Yeah, this is Ms.
to flip my phone.
Yeah. Oh my.
I kind of
God.
wish we had another flip phone, though. Like, how cool.
I know. It's
I'm
just
done.
it's a
That's it.
nostalgic
Sold.
feeling. But with that being said, let's kind of dabble a little bit into religion. Ryan,
Yes.
can we recap? I know you spoke a little bit about it last episode, but what are your guys' religious views in your family today?
so Sarah's Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised kind of just generic Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
And then my kids are all baptized Catholic, as far as that goes. So we go to church. We go to Catholic church every Sunday for the most part. It is very important to my wife.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, when we were getting more serious as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things where, you should be having conversations about
Yeah.
certain big factors in life, right? Money, kids, views on different things. And religion, of course, was a big one. And the Catholicism side, I wasn't put off by that. That didn't bother me at all. But at that point, I had kind of stepped away from church in general because at that time in high school and college, there was a big church in Ames, Iowa, where I grew up, that was like the trendy, cool church that everybody went to. And I tried it for a while because I had some friends that went there and they were like, oh, this is so cool. This place is awesome. Like, it's real low key, but like everybody's awesome. And it just really gave me a terrible taste for religion because if you didn't go to Monday night youth group
Mm-hmm.
and then you didn't go to Tuesday night bowling and then you didn't go to Wednesday guys group and then you didn't go to Thursday basketball pizza party with the group, like
Yeah.
you basically weren't as good of a Christian. And
Wow.
immediately, that turned me off because I remember one of the youth leaders asking me, like coming up to me and like being very serious and being like, are you just not down with this whole thing? Like, do you not believe in God?
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I believe in God. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, well, like, you really only ever hear on Sunday. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, why don't you ever come to anything else? I said, I have to work. I said, if I don't work, I can't afford my car, my gas, my food. Like, I'm completely an independent individual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm paying for everything in my life. And I can't just on Monday, which is a work day, when I get out of class, go, hey, I've got 3 hours of Bible study. Can I just get paid for that? And he basically told me that, in so many words, that if work was more important than Jesus, then I had a problem.
Oh wow.
And at that point, I was just like, okay, so I understand your guys' whole thought, and I will not be coming back.
Yeah.
And there was many incidents like that, and other people had very similar stories, and to the point where we nicknamed it, the cult of the town instead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hilarious because the people that were the most esteemed people at that church, and the kids that were the most esteemed people, they were the most screwed up, the biggest troublemakers, the biggest partiers. Like, the adults were just the kind that were super great in church always, but turn around and just talk shit behind somebody's back.
Yeah.
And it really, really turned me off of religion, in a classical sense. I still believed in God. I still thought, I still believed in, being a good person, and that's what mattered the most. But I didn't step foot in a church for probably another couple years at least,
Wow.
until I met Sarah, and she's like, this is a big part of my life. And, whether you ever become Catholic or not, I want our future children to be baptized Catholic. I want them raised Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we go to church, and I want you to come with me.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to step back and I told her everything. I was like, this is my reservations with kind of the organized side of religion. Not the actual thought itself and not the teachings itself, but the actual, you have to do X, Y, Z, you have to do X, Y, Z. It just always kind of sat weird with me.
Yeah, well, kudos to you on communicating with Sarah about that because that is a hard thing. I mean, you just have a bad taste in your mouth, which is unfortunate because that's not what religion should be.
100%.
But just the way that they were running those things was not right. And the question I have for you, Ryan, is growing up, was religion a big thing in your household? Not so much. What's kind of the background story on that?
So we didn't ever really go to church. Like I remember going to Sunday school a little bit. I remember going to church a little bit here and there. Both my parents were religious, but it wasn't really necessarily like it wasn't pounded into our heads by any means.
Yeah.
So I grew up, I would say, in a religious family, but not in the classical way, I guess. And I kind of enjoyed that just because it let me kind of decide what I thought was right out of it. And I've always been a big reader. I've always been I'm always down to learn about things that I'm actually curious about. And so that was awesome because I kind of got the ability to kind of make my own path with that. But as I got older, my mom definitely got more religious. My dad somewhat. But it was more of just a kind of a general consensus of like, hey, we believe in God.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if going to church makes you any better or more likely to get into heaven than, somebody else type of thing. And so it probably did shape me more in that way than I realized growing up. But it wasn't something that dominated any aspect of our life by any means.
Yeah. I feel like, and you touched base on a couple of things that is very true with a lot of people, and it relates to a lot of people.
Yeah.
One of the things with religion that you stated is like a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth by going to different churches because of the way that they handle things. And then when you start seeing things as far as like how they behave, how they gossip, how they do things, which technically, like you shouldn't be doing the gossiping. Gossip is one of the things that you should not be doing, right? And when you see those things happen, then it makes you question, like, are these people actually, doing right by God? Or like, does it seem like a sham kind of deal, right? So a lot of people think that going to church, you're going to get people who are a little bit, gossipy, not as good people, and it kind of puts like a bad taste in your mouth. And the way that you stated it, I felt the same way. Like, I'm Orthodox, so we always used to go to our Albanian Orthodox church. And those people that were Albanian that I would see on like Sundays and stuff, those were the people that were talking so much crap about other people. So like to me, I felt the exact same way as you did, right? I'm like, how can you like sit here and pretend that you have a relationship with God when you are doing XYZ behind, the back kind of deal? So is it like like you're putting up a front kind of deal? And I had a hard time too because my grandma was very religious when we used to be communism. So like in communism, we technically grew up atheists in a way because you were not allowed to believe in religion. Wow. If you did, you went to jail. Like that was just straight up. So my grandma used to hide like, Jesus Christ and Mary behind picture frames of the family. Because if anyone caught you, you were, kind of done. So like we used to do the Easter, like hidden, dye the eggs hidden, just for the family, like things like that, right? So I grew up in a religious family, even though technically for a certain amount of time it was not religious, right? Yeah. As I grew and I moved to the United States, I felt kind of like the same way. Like I'm like, I believe in God, but things were different. And I will say that like, since a couple of things have happened in the past 1.5 to 2 years, now my faith has actually become stronger with God. But again, it's not at a stage where it's like I'm religious or whatever it is. It's not in that stage. It's more like my own personal relationship with God, with Jesus Christ. Like that's it. Like it's just my relationship with them, because I still do think that I don't feel 100% comfortable in going to different churches and things like that. And probably because I feel like I got burned in a way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes me sad that I feel like people are just so shady, and I should be feeling that way because that's on my side, but at the same time it's felt that. So I don't know. What do you think, Beth? Because I know that you go to church.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate. I mean, I grew up in a Catholic household. I was baptized Catholic. My family, super, super religious. That was, Sunday you would go. We went to catechism, like that was everything. Like, my cousins did it, my brother and I did it. It was a thing that we did. We go to church on Sunday, like, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just what was done. So growing up as a kid, like I did have God in my life, but it was just kind of just like going through the motions, like like, oh, we're going to church, okay, oh, now I'm going to catechism, like, okay, see you, mom, see you, dad, whatever. I wasn't necessarily super close with God in that way, and I knew like my family would push God, and that's what we were supposed to do and told to do, so I just followed suit. And then in high school, I just kind of like came at a cross where I'm like, okay, like, I know I believe in God, but I'm kind of confused and lost. Like, how can I work on it to figure out, like, okay, is this the path I go on? And I joined my friend at a Christian church. And so that's when I got introduced into, like, Christian church and their values and how they speak the word of God. And I did see that exactly to your point, Ryan and MS, just a lot of superficial believers. I mean, it's even in the Catholic Church as well, too.
Yeah.
They are, on the exterior, very holy, very God-driven, very for the people, but behind closed doors, there's infidelity, there's abuse, there's lying, like just deceptive people at their core. But it's just kind of disheartening to see it and to think like, okay, like, is religion a thing that I can rely on, and is it real? Because there are so many people in this religion per se that are not a reflection of God's word.
Right. And also, we can talk about Catholic, and we could talk about like, what happens with the children, like the little boys and stuff like that. So that's that was like a big turnoff for me, to the point that like you start doubting things. But I think personally on my side, once I started having a deeper relationship with just God, like just God, and praying at night, and just like kind of like letting things be in His hand versus being controlling. And Ryan, you know how controlling I can be.
No, never.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, honestly, like for the past year and a half, I've just been like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and like, I've always said like a really big prayer, because the thing is, like, when I love people and I put you in my circle, I will absolutely love you, right? Like, I will do anything for you. I've gone my way for you. I will do anything for you. But what I've started seeing is that certain people that I would do things for, whatnot, sometimes you feel like they take advantage, which I don't care. I do things for me. I don't do things for others. But honestly, like, I've done this like prayer where I'm just like, hey, like, God, if it's not for me, take it away. Like, if it's not my friendship or family or whatever it may be, like, take it away. And it's been the weirdest thing, because so many people have just poof, like, disappeared out of my life. And no explanation whatsoever from it. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm learning to trust versus like trying to do so much to pull them in. Either in relationships, trying to make things work that shouldn't have worked before, friendships, family, all of that. I don't know. That's kind of like my thought behind it. So it's not really much of a religion that I believe in versus my own personal relationship with God.
Yeah. I support that. I mean, it's just having a relationship in what you believe was right, and for me, that's God. And I do kind of take the same approach to you, MS. And I'm curious, Ryan, for you to go a little bit more in depth in just a minute on it. That's one of the things I did really love about the Christian church a bit more, is where at the Catholic church, it felt like God was so far away from me. So where in the Christian church, they're more like, almost like God is right there with you. To where I know when I was young, and when I would pray, we'd have to pray to the saints and all this, and it wasn't as much of like a God topic. It was more like you go through these people and they'll talk to God.
Yeah.
So where in the Christian church, it's more like, no, you talk directly to God.
Yeah.
And so you do have more of that personal just development and relationship that I noticed that I love.
Yeah.
But I do try to build on that and focus on that, and rather the exterior of, okay, now I'm at a church and these people seem to look more holy, but in reality they're not holy. Like, I just need to take it day by day and make sure I'm internally the person that I need to be, and I'm reflecting and doing what God wants me to do.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get into that. But Ryan, what do you like? How's your approach and thoughts with your relationship with God?
Ooh.
It's a deep one.
Yeah.
Wide and varied at
Yeah.
different times in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I mean, let me kind of just back all the way up and say, if you're a good person, you're a good person.
Yeah.
To me, it's that cut and dry. We can disagree about anything under the sun. We can have different opinions on guns. You can be a raging liberal, and I can be a crazy conservative, or, and it doesn't matter. If you're a good person, you're a good person. And I think that shines through regardless. And, that was one of the other things that always bothered me is when people categorize people as a good person or a trustworthy person because they went to church.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're a good person. They go to church on Sunday. Means nothing.
Mhm.
Means nothing at all to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love the guiding principles of it. Right. I love the guiding principles of the Bible. I think overall, most people, if you didn't say it was religious to trigger a bunch of people that think religion is terrible, if you didn't say it was religious, it was a self-help book. Right? Most people would be like, yes, this makes all the sense in the world. Be nice to your other people, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated, all the golden rules, things of that nature. So I think as a whole, I think we're a lot closer, most people are a lot closer in how we live our lives or try to live our lives than we would all seem to believe. But I've very much struggled with my own beliefs and thoughts within the last 5-10 years, for sure. And there's been a lot of times where I've even told Sarah, I'm like, I'm only going because you want me to, and because it's important to you. And one of the times when she was gone, I think we were still living in Arizona, and she was up here to see her family. It was a Saturday night. We were on the phone saying goodnight, and she's like, "Are you gonna go to mass tomorrow?" I was like, "Oh." And she always told me from the beginning, and she's stuck true to this, and I'm so thankful for it, which is, she's like, even if you never become Catholic, she's like, as long as, you support our goal as a family, right, then I'm fine with that. Now, there's been times where that's caused some disagreements and some arguments. Not necessarily that I was against it, but more of just, sometimes you get selfish and you're like, why do I have to go?
Yeah.
Well, because you're setting an example for your children,
Exactly.
right? And it's like, okay, noted, that makes more sense, right? But as hard as it is to say sometimes or admit, there's been a lot of times where I feel completely disconnected to any sort of religion whatsoever. It doesn't feel like it's there. It doesn't feel like I have any connection whatsoever to it. I don't pray hardly ever right now, which makes me feel terrible to say. I still believe in God. I still believe in the higher being that created all this and whatnot, but man, I've got some serious questions, and it's something where I called the gentleman, the Father Richmond's his name, one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. He was who did Sarah and my premarital counseling. He was the one who married us, and he is by far one of the coolest people I've ever met. Extremely intelligent. He's PhD masters, teaches at Iowa State, but was also somebody who talks very much about how he was not a believer at all.
Yeah.
Was not a believer at all. Said there's too many holes in this, and then ended up becoming a priest.
Yeah.
And so, just a couple of months ago and whatnot, and Sarah's gonna hear this and be mad at me because I haven't even told her. She asked me just the other day. She said, "What'd you call Father Richmond about?" And I was like, "Nothing. Don't worry about it." Now here I am on a podcast telling people.
She's gonna hear it. No, she's gonna know.
I knew I needed something because, like I said, I still believe in God.
Yeah.
And I still believe in things of that nature, but I don't feel very connected to it. And I said, I need to call somebody who has a very high understanding of everything I'm struggling with, right? And also knows me in a personal level.
Yeah.
And so I called up Father Richmond, and I sat in my office here at the house, and he told me, he says, I think I know what to call him. And I said, okay, first off, creepy. Cool, but creepy.
Weird.
Okay.
And I said, I said, just like I said, I don't feel a connection to church. I said, it feels like a chore. I said, I don't pray. I don't feel. I said, even as when I did pray a lot, I said, I did never feel that it did anything other than I did it. Like, I was never the person that was like, oh my gosh, I have this big decision in my life. I should pray on it. That'll tell me which direction I need to go. No, I maybe I'm praying wrong. I don't know, right? But I never understood that. So I kind of broke it all down to him. And him and I talked for, a good hour or so, and he listened, of course, and he's got this fantastic African accent. I think he's Nigerian, which makes everything all better,
I
right?
love it. And they say a little more spicy.
It does. It makes it better, you know. But he told me, he said, Ryan, I'm kind of buzzing. I'm like waiting. I'm like, oh Lord, what's he gonna say, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, you are so smart. And I'm like, okay. Like, where are we
Thank
going?
you. Yeah.
He goes, this is the exact stuff that I thought about too. He's like, and this makes me so happy because it makes me know that you're actually interested in religion.
Yeah.
And what it means and things like that. And he's like, I was the same way. And he said, you need to have these questions. You need to have this kind of disbelief at a certain time or another. And some people, maybe they experience it early in their life, right?
Yeah.
But he said, this is something that he's like makes me excited. He's like, because we can go through all this.
Yeah.
And so, him and I need to reconnect on it. But he basically said, no. He said, this is perfect. He says you should have questions. You shouldn't just believe without having any doubts, of anything. And man, it made me feel so much better, just in the sense of like, I didn't expect him to be like, oh, you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
Like, where's the guy that I married, to his wife? His wife 10
Is
years
Ryan
ago,
in the room with us?
No, he was just like, and that's when I knew. I was like, this is why I called him.
Exactly.
Right? No judgment, no nothing. Just, hey, like, this is the right time for you to figure this all out. And slowly we're going to work on it all together, and then you can still make your decision from there. Yeah. And I think it's people like Father Richmond or whatever disciple of religion you are with, but I think it's hugely important that people get exposed to people like that, because what my outcome ends up being, I don't know, right? Him and I haven't started working on that and breaking things down, but I think that's the kind of religious leader that people need exposed to.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's so different, and if we break it down, it is what the teachings of the Bible are all about, which is right, coming together as individuals and being different. And Jesus hung out with prostitutes and washed everybody's feet regardless, and taught us how to be extremely humble and friendly, for lack of a better term, with everybody type of thing. And it was, I think, a little bit 18-year-old me, I think all of a sudden felt a lot better because I'd been told I wasn't a great person.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't go to, youth group basketball league, on a Thursday night. And
you
versus,
monster, Ryan. You didn't go to the pizza parties they threw.
Yeah, and the pizza party, and the 7 different Bible studies at all times of the day, to then have a man that I very deeply respect, who married my wife and I, who was around, at some of our biggest highs and lowest lows as a couple, who used to, if he saw us in Mass, would add us into the Mass.
Oh, no way.
As an example. The one that I love to give the example of, I know it's a little off topic, but we were in Iowa State, we were in the church we got married in, and it was before we had gotten married, so we were doing all of our counseling with Father Richmond, and he was speaking at Mass, and we were probably 10 rows back. I didn't even know he saw us by any means. It's huge, college Catholic church. And out of nowhere, he kind of just looks right at me in the sermon and he goes, and Ryan, I'm like, oh Lord, okay.
Looks around.
He's like, Sarah's going to annoy you.
Dang.
And I'm like, he's like, we are annoyed the most by the people we love the most.
Facts.
That's true.
He's spitting facts, right?
Little things, and I knew though, like I said, regardless of the outcome, I was like, this is the guy I need to talk to.
Yeah.
And the no judgment, the knowledge, just the personal knowledge of Sarah and I and our life together. So my religious views are still very much up in the air.
Yeah.
But I am working towards something. And so I'm not quite sure what that is yet.
Yeah.
But Father Richmond is definitely, I think, going to be a big part of that.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. And I appreciate you, Ryan, just being vulnerable and talking about your true, raw experience and thoughts on it. Because I'm sure, I know I can relate. I'm sure MS and even our listeners can relate and just find that piece of, okay, it's not crazy that I'm not feeling like 100% in,
Yeah.
Because you do kind of just look at the exterior of life, which is a big thing of social media. You only see bits and pieces, and you're thinking like, wow, like when I went to church today, the girls next to me, they just seem like so involved, so loved, so taken in, and I'm teetering, and I must be a horrible person for that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When that's not the case. So thank you again for just talking about it and just explaining your story, because I'm sure there are people that are relating and they're like, okay, this is the justification I need of knowing I'm not crazy and I'm not a bad person, and that there is potentially a future to where I can strengthen my relationship with God once I get the answers that I need about Him.
I think we should definitely, and obviously, like on our third episode that we're going to talk about, I know Sarah wants to join us, so hopefully we can have her here and talk about her religious views on it. And we definitely want to dabble a little bit more with certain things when it comes to religion, and because there's so many of our viewers out there that either are a different religion or are believers like we are, and some are more believers than others, and some maybe even atheists, like who knows, right? But there's also I like, in my views, as far as like being an atheist, is because to be an atheist there's two things, right? Either you just fully don't believe in a higher power or anything at all, or you don't know enough knowledge on things to do it. And I would say, like, somebody that's an atheist, I always challenge them. I'm like, you have to like read the Bible and then tell me that you are a true atheist, that you don't believe in any of it, right? Because if you don't read the Bible and you're just like a non-believer, that to me it's kind of like a little bit of ignorance, but it's not like ignorance is bliss. It's more like one of those things that like you just don't know. It's the same thing as saying like, I don't like vegetables, but you've never tried vegetables, kind of deal. I don't know. So I do think that on our next episode we should definitely talk a little bit more, get some more reviews, and if any of our our listeners have any questions on it that they want us to go through and talk about, like, we would love that. But Ryan, we thank you for joining us again. Like, this was fantastic, and I'm glad that you were able to make it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. I think the one thing I was thinking as you were talking there was the one thing that really sticks out to me, even in my kind of my darkest moments with religion, is where I'm, like I said, it was never not a belief in God.
Yeah.
I think more so, I think I had the bigger issue with the human side of it, which Sarah always reminds me, because I'll be like, well, I don't agree with some of the stuff Pope says, and I think Pope needs to calm down with some of the things they're saying, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And she's like, Ryan, just remember, this is a human person that is going through, and it's a flawed human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Regardless. Could be the highest level of person at the Catholic Church, right? It's still a flawed human being. It's doing their best to try and figure this all out. And so, I mean, my wife has been totally great with things like that. And her father, unfortunately, passed away about 10 years ago, very suddenly. But he was a very strong Catholic, being kind of the reason for my wife being so strong. And so it is hard, because there's a lot of questions that I would be asking from him, but like I said, now Father Richmond. But I think the biggest thing to me, and the one thing I want to end with on the religion side, is, as a parent, to see your children be born into this world, it to me is very hard to believe that you couldn't believe in some sort of a higher power when you get to witness that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if every parent thinks that, right? But at the same time, like, seeing my 3 children be born, and just the whole, like, the female body can grow a human is wild. And then to see that come to fruition, and now, and all of a sudden you have a kid where you didn't, an hour earlier. Yeah. And that to me is the one thing where it's, I know there's something there. I know there's something bigger than me. I know there's something more than me. Like I said, now it's just kind of that journey is to figure out what that means.
I love that journey. I love that you're taking that journey, and I love that you get to share it with us. And I think a lot of people go through the same thing as you're going through, same thing that Beth is going through and I'm going through, and I feel like our listeners are definitely relate to this. And if they don't, like, tell us why. Like,
Yeah.
send us a message, let us know as to why. But again, thank you guys for joining and thank you guys for listening to us. Brian, thank you for joining us on this one, and we're super excited to have our third episode to dig deeper into this, issues.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too. You guys are awesome.
Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Ryan.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.